Hey everyone, welcome back to Keeping It Real. Ahmad and I, we are going to be talking about Suicide Squad, Rogue One, and a bunch of other stuff this week. Terry is at the TCA's, the Television Critics Association. I went there this week and saw some stuff, or not saw some stuff, but talked to some of the folks from Gotham. But that's not a movies thing, so we're not going to talk about that. But I did talk to McG about his Masters in the Universe movie. And he did tell me, and the story will be up on the site by the time you watch this, but he was telling me about how, you know, the bar for him of supervillains is Darth Vader, Hans Gruber, Skeletor. Like, those are the three great ones. So he's hell-bent on doing this, right? And he didn't deny that Kellen Lutz was in the running for He-Man, but that role has not been cast yet. But I'll have more on that for next week's show. Let's dive in and talk about Suicide Squad.
All right.
We've both seen it now. Now, we didn't get your thoughts last week, so real quick, what did you think of Suicide Squad?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
You know, I think the consensus has been pretty accurate. Where the first act is good. Yeah. You know, it gets you all the information you need. It gets you a tiny bit of backstory, well, more than a tiny bit of backstory. It introduces everybody, and it gets you set up for the rest of the movie. The middle, it slows down, and the third act is basically the third act of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
You know,
but the bad version, I found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and having the Joker be so front and center in the marketing,
yeah,
but not even being connected to the A storyline at all,
right,
was really weird. I was like, oh, there's the Joker, but there's no connection to anything that's going on when he shows up. Joker shows up, but we still got to deal with this thing downtown with these people and these monsters.
Well, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we've learned since then. Jared Leto has been very vocal in interviews about, you know, what was cut. But Joshua was telling me there's some guy suing Warner Brothers for false advertising. But like as Joshua was putting it, he's suing them because he's like, you sold this to me as a movie with Joker front and center, and he's in it like 10 minutes. So I don't know. We're not lawyers, but what do you think? Does he have a case?
Look, the Suicide Squad is a cupcake. It's not a Joker cupcake. It's a cupcake with Joker sprinkles. And there's lots of Joker sprinkled over the whole entirety of it.
Yeah.
He's just not the cupcake. So
he wanted the Joker filling in the middle of the cupcake, and he did.
He did not get that.
He got El Diablo and Enchantress filling, is what he probably got. Well, let's talk about Suicide Squad. First, let's just, we'll run down for folks. It made basically around it's made $294.4 million so far globally. It made about $133 million apiece domestically, and internationally its opening weekend. And its domestic total now stands, as of today, Thursday, at $161.1 million. It broke the August record that Guardians of the Galaxy had. It was a bigger, I think it was a slightly bigger debut than Deadpool. You know, look, those are two offbeat comic book movies that they're emulating. Were you surprised by how big Suicide Squad debuted?
I think it fell right in around expectations, in the ballpark of expectations. I don't think they thought it was going to make more than 140. So coming in at about 135 was right about where they expected. It's offbeat. Yeah. It's different. It's definitely not Justice League style. It's not the Batman versus Superman style. It's a different animal. It's a different side of the DCU, which is fine. And I think younger audiences are responding to this in a completely different way, and they seem very, very, very excited about it.
Well, no, it's true because you were, you know, we know the cinema score, which obviously with BVS that became kind of a big story because it got the same cinema score, I think, as Green Lantern and Catwoman. I should know, I wrote that story up. And this one, Suicide Squad got a B+, which is slightly better, but the silver lining in that is that for I believe it was the under 18 crowd gave it an A.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were kind of like just looking at the box office breakdown from last weekend, and there was a significant thing that happened. The Friday to Saturday drop was like
41%.
41%
in that ballpark.
And that's bigger than what BBS dropped on that Friday to Saturday, which indicates like bad word of mouth. So it's a weird thing of like the kids seem to love it, but like the broader audience
they seem to have a little more reservation.
Yeah.
But Batman's drop had a bigger Saturday, Sunday drop.
Yeah.
Which, same word of mouth, just a different, I think, people were just like, hey, maybe I'm not going to rush into it on a Friday night because it's busier. Maybe I want to avoid the lines. Maybe I heard the reviews and they weren't so hot.
Yeah.
Saturday to Sunday is like, by then, most people have already seen it, and that's actual real word of mouth. I think the Friday to Saturday drop might just be apprehension,
How much of it, too, do you think is the under 18 viewers making up their minds about each movie before they even went in to see it, too? Like, Suicide Squad was just sold better. That opening weekend is a testament to Warner Brothers' marketing of that movie. Most big opening weekends, actually every opening weekend is a reflection of your marketing campaign, but in particular when they really hit, it's like, you're not getting fired. Like, nobody in Warner Brothers marketing is losing their job over Suicide Squad.
No, and the trailer house is probably getting a bonus because the Blitz trailer sold this movie. That trailer, more than the first trailer, more than the TV spots, more than any other piece of marketing, that trailer said, this is the movie you want to see this summer.
Yeah.
And it worked. Yeah. Even if it's not necessarily the movie you saw on the screen.
Right.
The movie you saw on the screen was trailer 1. The movie that you got in the Blitz trailer was slightly different.
Well, it makes you wonder though, like, did the just to get back to my point of like, do you think the younger audience, they made up their mind that they were going to like Suicide Squad just based on those trailers? And there was enough left in that movie. Whereas I do feel like a lot of people made up their mind about BVS before they went in that I'm not going to like this movie.
I think with the younger audience, I think they made their mind that they were excited to see this movie.
Right.
And I think it was almost like a challenge. Like, I've read these reviews. The reviews are bad. I'm still really excited about it. I'm going to go see this movie, but I still have really high hopes that this is going to be good. And I think it was the movie that they wanted when they got in there. I think different parts of the audience, different audience segments got in there like, this isn't necessarily the movie that I expected or wanted, which tells you probably who the movie was more targeted to.
Right.
The target audience really seems to enjoy the movie.
Who do you think stole the show in the movie?
I think that the trifecta in this movie is Will, Margot, and Viola. Yeah. They're the rocks of the whole film. Yeah. They carry it. Although I thought Jay Hernandez was really good in it.
Yeah, I think nobody went in there expecting El Diablo to be such a key character, but he kind of thematically tied in with exactly what
he was perfect to the theme. He seemed to have the most well-developed backstory, and almost the only backstory that had any real emotional resonance aside from the kind of Deadshot stuff. Yeah. I almost wished he got more screen time. A little bit.
You got to save the day in the end. Oh, spoiler, sorry, but so what did you think of Leto's Joker? We already talked about it on last week's show. So what did you think of Leto's Joker?
It's a hybrid. It's not visually. It was very different. So I went in expecting a very different Joker. What I got was vocally Ledger, physically Nicholson.
Really?
I felt his physicality and his kind of. Was similar. Was
That's
more
sort of broader way of performing.
Very, because I don't think Ledger's was as physical, but Ledger's was in mannerisms and vocal inflection and tone and style. Nicholson was very showman-like, and I feel like we got a little bit of that.
You were going to say hammy. It's okay. I think he's hammy as Joker, but he was good ham.
It was well, it wasn't.
It was like that boar's head ham. It wasn't that like
that's the good stuff. It wasn't ham-fisted like Cesar Romero, which was the Joker of his day, but it was very different, and I expected something drastically different. I think what we got was a different look. But vocally, if you're kind of not paying attention, he sounds a lot like Ledger.
He really does.
He kind of nailed it in a weird way.
You mentioned Cesar Romero's Joker, and I recently rewatched the '60s Batman movie. I love the old '60s Batman show, and the '60s Batman, the '66 Batman movie. It was its 50th anniversary, and this year, but I was just watching this clip the other day of the surfer, the surf scene where Joker. It's not in the movie, it was from the show, but like it was making its round online, people saying that it was a cutscene from Suicide Squad. It was so funny to go back and look at like Joker beating Batman at surfing.
The stuff they did in it, I'll never get over Bat Shark repellent.
Well, he used it again in that episode. And that's why Batman lost the surfing competition to Joker, because he kind of, he didn't stop, but he was like spraying, got distracted to spray.
He really needs to
bats.
take into account sharks when entering into the water. I don't know why.
I know.
Even
every
in his helicopter,
time he's like shark bait for them.
Joker almost, Robin almost lost a leg over this mess.
Now, there were a lot of scenes that were deleted, we found out. A lot of stuff with Joker, and Jared Leto, as we said, has been very vocal about it. There was
verbose even.
Yeah, yes. And he has, they essentially kind of gutted the arc of Harley, because according to the scenes that were cut, Harley decides in the end, Joker comes back from the helicopter crash, and he decides, he's like, come with me. That's what you see him with the
char. And
yeah, and he's in the suit and everything, and he starts shooting at them. He throws a grenade and stuff. And none of that obviously is in the movie, and they make it look like, that she's always wanted to be with Joker.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, like the scene they cut was her rejecting him. She's going to stay with her friends.
Yeah.
That's an arc.
It's totally an
And
arc.
she doesn't have one in the movie. What do you think about that?
They give it a little bit in the, after the bar scene, like, let's go wrap this thing up, team. There's a little bit of it there, but it's not really an arc. It's just that everybody, it's the last huddle before we run back on. It's the, the halftime speech, and everybody runs back on the field. But it would have been nice, but then they don't get the other scene later at the end of the movie. So
yeah, when he busts in to quote rescue her. Now, Joker did tell us, was it us or was it another? Anyways, he recently said that he was asked what his Joker would think of Henry Cavill's Superman. And he said that he would have some fun with him, that basically, because Superman is, quote, morally centered and, quote, stoic, and that, in his, quote, cute outfit with the cape and everything, that he would have some fun with him. And then David Ayer, I thought, he, just before he came in here, there were some quotes that he gave to Empire about why Joker has the grill and the damage tattoo. And he said it's because Joker killed Robin, and so Batman beats the living crap out of him, knocks his teeth out. So that's why he's got the grill. And Joker gave himself the damage tattoo because I used to be beautiful, and now you've damaged me. So look what you did to me, kind of thing.
The teeth didn't surprise me. I kind of saw that as it was a little weird, and it's so jarring. You've noticed there's a lot of real close-ups on it. I was like, yeah, it was probably bad. Especially Ben Affleck's Batman, and definitely likes punching people.
Right? Yeah, and that's him in a good mood.
Yeah.
Some of the other deleted scenes, there's just more Joker stuff, and Leto has been really vocal about. Verbose about the stuff that was cut. I mean, even to our own Chris Tilley, he looked peeved. Do you think they did the Joker justice, or do you think that they basically did they kind of screw up by not including more of those scenes?
I don't think this was ever meant to be his movie. Yeah. I think they marketed him because a new Joker is a huge selling point. Mm-hmm. If you watch the trailers, you think maybe he's the villain of the movie. Kind of.
Do you think he should have been?
No, I don't think he's big enough. I think the Suicide Squad, I mean, traditionally from the comics, they're almost more like a military group where they run into places where the traditional government can't go into. So having him tackle a very traditional, super-powered supervillain was a little odd choice for them, especially because they're a fairly underpowered team. It's like boomerangs and baseball bats and guns, like against ghosts and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, your call. Good luck. Pick nice caskets for him.
Yeah.
But having the Joker there's no reason why. There's no deniability in sending somebody out to go get the Joker. So having him be a catalyst for it, like maybe having him kidnap the person who winds up in the subway. I would have put him in there as the person who sets up these things, but not as the main villain.
But it's also a lot more interesting.
Yeah, and then this also, but ultimately he's probably a tease for the Batman movie.
Yeah.
It's a way to introduce the character without having to change the structure of the movie, but also saying, hey, here's the Joker. We're not going to deal with his backstory in this Batman movie. It's going to be a Batman movie about Batman and Joker and whatever else we need to put in it, but we're not going to have this baggage of having to reintroduce him and re-explain his origin.
So do you think then that the solo Batman movie should be a sequel to like basically post Suicide Squad, or do we want to see the actual Robin murder story, which we also found out Harley Quinn played a role in? You know?
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting. Oh, well, it gives you an idea of why she's in that jail.
Yeah.
Because you don't get any real sense of what she's done. If you miss that tiny little graphic, you have no idea really what she's in there. Like, oh, she's a criminal and she runs with the Joker, but I mean, you also don't get an idea of the types of crimes the Joker commits anyway.
Yeah.
You see him do everything that he does in the movie is in service of trying to rescue Harley. So you don't really get an idea of who he is outside of this. So I think having a Batman movie that focuses on their relationship has the primary antagonist would probably be nice.
It would be interesting if you did see the movie that sparked Ben Affleck's Batman to become the brute that he is in BVS, but Justice League is going overtime on trying to redeem him for that, and they
I don't
literally
think they want to go
said
backwards.
that. So it would at least be interesting. I wonder if we'll ever actually see Robin, or if it'll always just be that empty suit. Maybe that's enough. Maybe just
I think it's enough. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, Snyder already shot Jimmy Olsen in the face. I don't think I need to see Jason Todd get crowbarred to death. I don't.
Yeah, I forgot about the Jimmy Olsen thing there.
Let's kill all the henchmen and sidekicks.
But overall, you liked Suicide Squad. It sounds like a little bit more than the rest of us.
I didn't hate it, and I didn't. But I didn't have a.
Was us pissing and moaning about it? Was that set the bar for you? You think?
No, I mean I went into it with fairly low expectations. Honestly, I figured it was going to be similar to what it was, and what I expected were very similar. I would have enjoyed a better villain, a stronger villain.
Yeah.
I thought they should have tied Apocalypse into it, so at least you have this kind of. If you're going to have this otherworldly villain, tie it into the next movie, and not just have this
dark
weird
side and all this stuff. From
just generic.
Yeah,
ghosty.
because they're teasing the mother boxes now. So I thought maybe it was tied to like the mother box stuff, but no.
And one of the villains looked vaguely Steppenwolfish anyway.
Right.
It was like, oh, I mean, anyway, I thought it was just a weak villain that didn't. And I understand why you had these kind of monsters that were there that you could. The Suicide Squad had no problems taking down. Harley can knock him out with a bat. Boomerang can cut him, shoot him. I mean, they were taken care of very easily by the squad. Whereas, Rick Flag, 3 of them run up on him. He's like, uh-oh, Rick's in trouble again. And I thought that was a little weird. But I understand why they do that, because you can't have them shooting at actual people for 90 minutes, because that's going to change your rating.
Well,
but I think it needed a stronger villain. I just thought it was okay. It was entertaining, and that was my base. If it's entertaining and I don't spend the entire movie questioning it. If I question it during the movie, we're in trouble. If I question it when I get out, it's not as bad. It's forgivable.
I do wonder if we did see the cut of the movie eventually on home video that had the Joker Harley arc added back in. I'm curious how we would react to it, but I don't know if we're going to get that or not.
Yeah, and from what a lot of people have been saying, the Joker Harley arc was in the original movie was very different. Mm-hmm. I heard they reshot the helicopter scene, where it was less of a, hey, let me save you from this, helicopter that's about to crash too. Goodbye. It's been nice knowing you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That they re-edited all the. Yeah, I did. I think I did read that too.
I heard they reshot the entire thing.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's you can definitely tell that there's tonal shifts in different parts of the movie. I mean, the movie doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a train wreck by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not great, which is fine. I still think compared to Batman versus Superman, it's far more entertaining.
I think
Batman
it's the
versus
kind of
Superman,
movie.
I was just like, geez, I'm just going to end it here.
Well, I think this is a Suicide Squad. If it came out in like 1998 or 2000, people would have loved it.
Yeah, I think in a different time.
All right, let's talk about some other DCEU stuff. Aquaman. All right, so we found the Wrap is reporting that Black Manta is the villain of it, and I always I'm going to try it again. Every time I say Black Manta, like the way he did the voice on Super Friends, I can't even get it. But
he's like gargling underwater. It's awesome.
Well, that's funny that you should say that. That gives us a segue. Eric Goldman, who was at the TCAs this week, spoke to James Wan, the director of it, who's also doing the MacGyver pilot. And he said that they're trying to figure out the whole speaking underwater thing, how they're going to do it. Like, like almost like a sonic effect.
Yeah, like dolphins or whales, or which is great because hearing
Like a
Jason
sonar
Momoa
ping
going
or something. Yeah.
would be not awesome.
Like, how do you like? So is it gonna just like? Is it gonna be like whale song, like Star Trek 4, like like that? It'd be. I'm just curious, like, how are they gonna do it? And also, like, how do you do Atlantis? You don't really need to have the dome over it like you'd see in the cartoons or something. They're mer people; they can live underwater. So it's just in Juan was also talking about how look, Zack Snyder is already laying some of the groundwork for. I just want to point out that was our producer sneezing. That was not a fart. The last time, one time when your predecessor Chris Carl was on this, his phone was vibrating, and people are leaving comments like Jim's totally farting. It was Chris Carl's phone was vibrating. So Tom, behind the camera.
Excuse me.
He also had a fart ringtone. I met him once, and he told me about it.
I wouldn't have put it past him. Anyways, Aquaman. It's James Wan also talked about how Aquaman is going to be sort of like the Wolverine of the Justice League. That guy who's the reluctant member of the team, the guy who is, doesn't want to be part of them, and then has to step up. And he's the
So
tough
you
guy.
mean he's Namor?
Ouch. Ouch, ouch.
I'm-
But true.
Look, I'll say this: the minute they cast Jason Momoa, I'm like, I'm in. I'll watch that dude punch people underwater for 2 hours if I have to.
And Juan was saying how just by casting Momoa, you will erase half the jokes about Aquaman. You're like, yeah, no,
All
this is
gone.
pretty tough. Yeah.
You could put him in the same exact costume. People are like, I'll watch it. Don't care. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
He's always interesting on screen when you see him. Definitely having a more physical Joker, more physical Aquaman is awesome. But also having people who just kind of take Aquaman serious, like, hey, this is Arthur Curry. He's an actual character. He does stuff. He has his own kingdom.
Yeah.
He's part sea dweller, part human, and let's just start there.
Right.
know.
And then, Momoa, I just want to point out, is also reportedly up for the lead role in the Crow reboot. He'll be like the third actor now. It was Bradley Cooper.
Look. We're
Jack
just going
Houston,
those other movies didn't happen. There's
Yeah.
one Crow movie.
Yeah, the first one.
There was some other stuff that happened, just like there.
Maybe even
like,
a TV series at one point.
I was gonna say, just like there was a couple of Blade movies, and actually the Blade TV series was not that bad, but
Yeah.
but
I never did watch that one.
it's
That was
a-
only like one season, right?
It's like a syndicated Canadian production that was fine, but you know what? I don't have any problems with Momoa's Crow. The Crow is one of my favorite superhero films of all time.
He'll look like Brandon Lee on steroids.
Yeah, he will.
I'm not saying Jason Momoa's on steroids. It's an expression. But Aquaman. Juan was saying that Zack Snyder has actually laid a lot of the groundwork already for what he's going to do with what Juan is going to do with Aquaman. But he said, as much as they're going to honor the larger cinematic universe, first and foremost, they have to do their own thing. They have to make their own fun movie.
Yeah.
And he also did speak about sort of, again, like, trying to capture sort of the terrors of the deep too. How do you think, like Black Manta, like, is he a good choice for the villain? I mean, I know he's like his probably most famous villain, but is he the right choice, I think? Or
I mean, it's either you do that or you do what's his name, Seamaster or something like
Yeah.
that, and you do a Battle for the Throne kind of thing.
True, they did that animated movie basically about that.
Yeah, not too long ago. I think he'll be fine because it'll be nice to have him tie somebody who's lives in the ocean, but is from the surface, and
Yeah.
maybe there's a decent tie-in in there. Maybe he has a specific. You can kind of tie it in with more environmental things and things
Right.
like that, and see.
That's interesting.
You know.
yeah. Well, should he still have that Stewie Griffin-shaped football helmet?
Oh, he's the helmet's staying. I'm sure it won't be. I don't know. I never understood why it was as wide as it was, or
I
why
always thought he
sometimes
was like
the
a
neck was.
hammerhead dude.
Yeah, he looked like a hammerhead sometimes, or the neck was super big. I think later it started scaling down a little bit. But the fact that he had a big tank on his back said, this guy doesn't breathe underwater.
Yeah.
Also, he's got a spaceship underwater. But I think putting him up against somebody who's similar to him as far as being of two worlds and might kind of be the right way to go.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea yet who's going to play him, but I don't know. You probably don't need a star for that. You could just get the right actor for it,
I'm sure The Rock probably looked at his phone like, no, I'm already playing Black Adam.
Now let's talk about Man of Steel 2. We also learned this week that is back in active development. And I know a lot of folks wasn't BVS supposed to be essentially Man of Steel 2? There was always some back and forth about it, like Zack Snyder said, yes, it is. And others were like, well, no, it's not really. But this is basically another standalone Superman movie in the works. In that Warner Brothers reportedly, according to the Wrap, that getting Superman right and making the audience really like this take on the character is tantamount, is a quote priority for them. So, what do you think about that? What do you?
Well, I mean, that's what you right now. That's what you have Justice League for.
Yeah.
You know, Superman's going to have to be a large part of that story because of how he left off in the last movie. So having this kind of rebirth of this character is kind of where you would do the heavy lifting then. Yeah. After that, I don't know where they put this movie in the schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I know that Cyborg movie is going to get bumped. The Flash movie will probably move around, but where do you put Superman now in that schedule? I mean, luckily the Batman movie doesn't have a hard date, and it'll come out whenever Ben Affleck feels it's ready to come out, which is fine. Ben, take all the time you need. We want to see your movie. We're sure it's going to be awesome. Yeah. You know, I'll decline my Marvel check for the month to go see your movie. Thank you, Ben.
He's joking about the Marvel check, people. Don't take him seriously.
It's cash.
It's in a brown paper lunch bag every Thursday. It comes with bagels. So let's move on. Well, actually, no. Before we move on, Man of Steel 2.
What do you think about it? What do you think that not necessarily what do they need to do with this movie, but where does this movie go?
Well, look, I mean, if Superman is as sullen in Justice League as he's been the last two,
he's the Fiona Apple of the Justice League.
I'm just saying it's strike three at that point, like in my eyes. Hopefully, you know, look, they have to resurrect him, obviously, in Justice League. How is he different after that? Does he still have his memories? Is he a different man? Is he going to still be, you know, I mean, different man inside, you know?
What if they don't resurrect him? What if they just Weekend at Bernie's him all over the planet and... You know, Batman just was like, here he comes.
No, he's still around. Be afraid of us. We got a meta-human. He's totally fine. That would be actually somebody out there now. That's your fan film idea. That's your assignment. We want to see it here on IGN.
Weekend at the spaceship.
I don't know. Like, I feel like Man of Steel, you need to do something there. What sort of threat can he face? Where it's kind of like the issue that the Marvel movies deal with now where, okay, once you set up the Avengers, why aren't you calling all your friends for help? So if there's a global threat, so does maybe Superman have to leave the planet? And I think that could be kind of fun. Maybe you can introduce the Green Lantern Corps that way. Like Superman is, you know, has to go do something. Maybe go stop something that's on its way heading to Earth to destroy it, and gets in an adventure out there. And you can. Or, ooh, dude, you know what I would love to see? Remember Legion of Superheroes? And I know they're from, like, the future and all that jazz, but it'd be fun. Like, if you're going to bring an alien to Earth, then let's have him in a cosmic adventure outside of there, and where maybe it's a bit more of a level playing field for the other characters, you know?
Yeah. I still think Booster Gold is the key to getting Legion of Superheroes out.
Yeah?
And I think Legion of Superheroes might work for TV. That's just me.
I'd done that comic like when I was like 15, and there was that. It was a dude like the main guy, and he was in like the pink.
Cosmic Boy.
Yeah.
The '60s costumes were all a little funny.
It's so crazy.
Well, one thing about this is the Batman vs Superman Ultimate Cut gave you a lot. Made you feel like more of a Superman movie. Not so much a Superman movie, more of a Clark Kent movie, but there's definitely more Superman.
You saw him as a reporter and stuff, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely more Superman, there's definitely more Clark Kent. If they make a movie that's more of a traditional, you know, not tie-in, not, you know, standalone, because, I mean, really, if Superman is a really big threat, he probably doesn't need to call Batman. He probably doesn't need to call the Flash. You just make it Metallo or... Somebody, you know, you couldn't even have a
Bizarro. Will we get to that? Or Mr. Mxyzptlk, any of those?
No, I wouldn't mind seeing Bizarro. I mean, that's another Luthor story right there. He's
like,
hey, I still got some DNA here. What can I bank? You know, and that
basically,
kind of thing,
it's
which is kind of what he tried.
Yeah.
Or you do like Alien Resurrection, where you have all of these, you have that one shot of all of these different proto Ripley, like, that's the first one we made. It's half Ripley, half alien. That one's got hair, but it's got weird legs.
Kind of looked like Bizarro Superman, and the when he had gotten nuked and was just kind of floating up there in space.
Oh yeah,
he had that kind of like that skull face looking thing.
Yeah, I think there are threats that are not intergalactic. Whereas this, kind of apocalypse Kirby stuff, threats that are not so huge that only Superman can handle.
I suppose maybe you could have Superman. What if you did the standalone Superman movie before Justice League 2, and he goes to Apocalypse, maybe he fights Darkseid there, like stopping the threat before it comes to Earth, and he either fails or there's repercussions from all that. It'd be kind of interesting, and I guess that kind of in a weird way tying with Batman's vision that somehow Superman brought upon them all the
quickening.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we want to hear what do you guys want from it, Man of Steel 2? Let us know in the comments. Let's move on to some Marvel stuff now. Paul Rudd said that he and Adam McKay have turned in their treatment for Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that it could all change. It's just right now. It's just like, here's our idea for the story, and then Captain Marvel, screenwriter Nicole Perlman, said that there's going to be, quote, a lot of reinvention for their movie because Carol Danvers' origin in the comics, one, as Scott Calera told me, it's very effed up, but two, it's the Nicole Perlman said that it's too much like Green Lantern, So there's going to be a lot of reworking of that. You as a comic
so is the Nova Corps,
right? Well, what do you think? Like, what are the ways that they could kind of handle her origin, but like, is there, I guess what I'm asking is there a way to do Captain Marvel's origin that's different from the comics, but maybe just kind of get the story going already? Like, can you start a Captain Marvel story with her already basically being Captain Marvel, or do you need all this kind of backstory? Or
I think for her,
come up in other ways.
I think you're going to need a backstory. I think they can dispatch of it in the first act of the movie quickly.
Do you think they could do it maybe in Avengers Infinity War, since
I have a feeling they don't plan to, but that's how I'd do it. I'd have her be at least part of, I'm assuming they're going to have her be part of the military hierarchy, the post-SHIELD military hierarchy, and you either introduce her in one of those two movies, and maybe somehow she gets her powers in the second movie, and then, I would handle it that way so that by the time her movie starts, you don't have to do any of that.
Right. So she starts basically as just like as Carol Danvers, military officer, or whatever they do for the movie, and then maybe she somehow gets stranded out there in space, and that's her movie.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that Marvel's done, not Marvel Studios per se, but the Marvel films have done it going back to X-Men, is saying, here are these characters you love. We're not going to, these aren't literal translations on the screen.
Yeah.
This is a different thing. We're going to change the costumes. We might tweak the origin stories and things like that. But these are the same characters you love. We're just presenting them. The wrapper is slightly different. And I don't think people are necessarily married to her origin story, especially with the amount of changes she's gone through over the years.
And there are a lot of controversial
Miss Marvel
and
Captain Marvel and multiple, her and Monica Rambeau. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and I don't think they're going to bring Marvel into this. And
well, what if the Captain Marvel movie is everyone showing, no, wait, I'm Captain Marvel. Wait, no, I call that name too. And then Marvel shows up. Actually, folks, that was me first.
And then Skrull Captain Marvel shows up. No, it's not me. Wait, I'm a Skrull?
Look, we can't all have, and then Shazam flies by, and you're all like,
sorry,
wait, you can't even be here. You're in a totally different thing.
Mary Marvel walks out. I think they just start with the most recent iteration as possible. That way you don't have her in the bathing suit with the sash anymore. Yeah. And just go from there. But even if she doesn't wind up in the two Avengers films, I don't think anybody was so married to this origin story that they're going to be pissed off that, Well,
I think, anything that doesn't seem too much like Green Lantern is probably a smart idea on Marvel's part. Let's talk about some video game movie stuff. We got the first trailer this week for Resident Evil, the final chapter. And you know who's won by The Office this week? You want to tell the folks who?
Mila Jovovich.
Yep.
She's in here being awesome.
She's sitting right where I'm sitting. And I was sitting right where you're sitting.
And you were glowing too.
I was
thought that was weird.
We did a whole thing like for her Facebook Live, and then we did a video interview with her, which will be going up on the site soon. But let's talk about the trailer. First of all, I'm surprised they got Guns N' Roses' Paradise City, because Guns N' Roses doesn't give out their songs to anything, really. I mean,
they reunited and they were doing some shows. I think for them it's a smart move to introduce their music to another audience.
Some of the Sony people were telling me, that wasn't cheap either to get that song for the trailer.
No, I mean, hey, they used it. This will be the second Guns N' Roses song in a movie since Deadpool.
Did Deadpool have one? I know
the Dirty Harry Deadpool with Jim Carrey.
Oh God, yeah.
The Deadpool with Evan Fong. Yeah,
I skipped school one day to go see that. That was,
Yeah, Welcome to the Jungle was in the trailer for that one.
And then the wrestler at the very end, they used the opening strains of Sweet Child of Mine. Well, that's why otherwise you always hear a cover of Sweet Child of Mine in trailers or in the movies. Yeah. But yeah, I was just like, wow, Resident Evil was like the biggest grossing video game movie franchise, over $1 billion worldwide, and it's 15 years now. So yeah, they took some of that $1 billion and sprang for a GNR song.
They can, good for them. I mean, it's a long running franchise for a reason. Yeah. It's a story you're familiar with. It's a lead that you're familiar with that's super rootable that people actually like seeing. But also, you know exactly what you're getting. There's no curveballs.
Yeah.
Mila Jovovich is going to fight a lot of people. Some dead, some undead, at least a couple of monsters. Yeah. And it's going to be fine.
Now, you know what else we're getting someday is the Mortal Kombat movie reboot that James Wan is producing that reboot. And as he was telling Eric Goldman, when he was also talking to him about Aquaman, that they're not rushing the reboot because they just want to do it right. They want to take their time with it. What do you think? I mean, do we need a Mortal Kombat movie? I mean, let's face it, those first two movies, as cheesy as they are, they're really well liked by fans. And
the first one, at least.
Yeah, the first one, let's say, because it's, it captures the spirit of it. Sure, it's cheesy, but it was fun, and it's for what, 20 years later.
I saw the first Mortal Kombat at a midnight showing at the Chinese Theater, not too far from here. Probably the rowdiest midnight showing I've ever been to. The most raucous crowd you can experience. People were just, this was awesome. Especially the minute you have Scorpion, do the flame and everything. People were just like, people's heads were exploding.
It's also the only video game movie from 20 years ago that people still talk about with any measure of fondness.
No, yeah, because nobody's talking about Street Fighter.
It's just so, it's funny if you go back and you look at Street Fighter, like just it's so cheesy, but you know what? It's still better than that Legend of Chun-Li movie that I skipped that. Yeah. I did the junket for that one. That was
I'm sorry.
The only high point of my experience with that movie was meeting Michael Clark Duncan, and that was the only high point of doing anything on that movie. Otherwise, that movie was a dreary mess. That was like
the thing with the problem with video game movies is the initial hurdle is that video games are such a unique and immersive experience. To translate on it's very hard to translate that onto a film where you're not part of the story, you're not controlling it, you're not involved at all. You're passive, and you're turning this kind of experience that you have such a strong connection to and such a strong command over into this kind of passive thing. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want the story to go in that way. You have a really big hurdle right there. And also, I think a lot of times people think, hey, this is a really good property to adapt, but they don't think about how the audience perceives it and how the audience is used to experiencing it.
Oddly enough, the Doom movie has that whole third act thing where it goes into first-person shooter mode. And that might be at least that was trying to give you the
appearance. Yeah.
People forget, wasn't Carl Urban in that too? Wasn't he in Doom? Wasn't he the main dude? I think he was. Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. I think with at least
he's been friggin' everything, Carl Urban.
Well, look at the Mortal Kombat web series was actually they were actually able to take these characters and give them a new spin and kind of show them in a different way, and people were like, oh, okay, I can get into that. I think Juan taking his time, perfect. That's fine. Don't rush into an inferior product if you don't have to.
All right, so now we're going to dive into Star Wars stuff. We're going to talk about Rogue One. We are anticipating a trailer drop sometime today, Thursday.
Star Wars watch.
You really do?
Yeah, it's
Oh, wow. I've never noticed that until now. So yeah, we're expecting a Rogue One trailer. It's going to air during the Olympics. Little spoiler, Jimmy Smits confirmed what fans had already caught because they're so eagle-eyed.
Uncomfortably confirmed.
Yes, on what was that show, The Talk or whatever or something. And yeah, Bail Organa is back. Not for long because obviously he's going to buy it like the next movie in New Hope.
He's going to buy it like 37 hours after he showed up.
Exactly. It's like,
you know what? We've got to defeat this Death Star, or else, things could not be so good for me.
He's like, yeah, think about it. He's like, boy, they're going to use that weapon on somebody. Whew, good thing I'm Bail Organa.
Alderaan, we're fine.
We're the happiest planet in the galaxy. So yeah, I'm curious though. The little trailer teases that they've been tweeting out, they're showing the same footage that we've already seen. I've seen the roll call of characters. I've seen them running on the beach with the.
I think there's one new line in there.
Yeah.
There might be a Force line in there that wasn't in the other one.
And we know from Celebration that Vader was in the footage that they showed. You know what's interesting? Right before he came in here, EW posted snippets of a conversation they had with Forrest Whitaker, who plays Saw Gerrera.
From Clone Wars.
Yeah, and then isn't he also on? Is he in Rebels now too?
Well, the character was. Yeah, the character I think will probably
because
show up
like they're aging
but he
him
comes.
up,
Yeah.
Until Rogue One.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he was talking about sort of like the similarities between his character and Darth Vader. You know, the fact that they're both physically damaged, they both have the suits, they're both essentially kind of zealots in a way.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's interesting that they both have Saw Gerrera has a close relationship with Jyn Erso, who's kind of mentoring her. And he did acknowledge that he's going to have the two different looks. Like he's got the shaved head. We saw
the first trailer he has hair, and the second trailer he's shaved head. And it sounds like it. I'm assuming it's hey, get out of retirement. We got to fight. Yeah. They're going to make this big super weapon.
Do we get the montage?
Oh no, it's Rambo putting on the
exactly,
oiled up, putting on the headband.
Yeah, because then the next shot he's got Sam Jackson's hair from Unbreakable.
Yeah,
it's Mr. Glass all of a sudden. But we also learned about Jeddah, the Holy Land. It's also home to. I'm going to see if I can get these names correct, right? Chirrut Imwe, Bodhi Rook, that's an easy one, and then Baze Malbaz.
Those are the most Star Wars names I've heard all year.
I know, right? It's so.
They have a machine at Lucasfilm.
It's just so silly, but I love it.
6 syllables. What do I get?
I'm not sure if you had a chance to read the EW article or if you want me to just run down.
You can go ahead and recap. Okay. I missed it actually.
All right, so Jeddah is the sort of the Holy Land. Yeah,
that I was familiar.
So it's a big. It's kind of like a Mecca or something like, but it's occupied by the Empire. So it's definitely like kind of like a Jerusalem with the Roman occupation kind of thing going on there.
People have been theorizing that maybe they're keeping the Kyber crystals there to help make the laser on the Death Star, that kind of thing. Which
and Kyber crystals, and I didn't realize this. That's what powers
lightsabers. Yep.
So it kind of makes sense. Yeah, Empire rolls into this holy place. People feel like there's nothing really to protect us, and they're just stripping it of its resources.
Which is what the Empire does. I mean, that's what they're doing on Kashyyyk, running the Wookiees around like crazy people, and
nobody messes with Wookiees.
Well, and that's part of the aftermath story where they're on Jakku. They're doing some mining there as well. So,
I think that's interesting. I mean, clearly you can read into like contemporary parallels too with a lot of stuff. And that. So I'm curious. What do you think? What does this Rogue One, the new trailer, what does it have to do? This is kind of moot because by the time we post this, the trailer will have been out. But just a time capsule moment here. What do you think this trailer has to do to
I think
win over people who don't know that it's a prequel or like what? Like,
and I've heard people saying like, oh, of course it's a Star Wars movie. It's going to do great no matter what. But these people were saying that about a Batman versus Superman, which did very, very well. didn't perform to studio expectations. You know, they were probably didn't make as much as they expected it would. Disney does definitely not want to be in that territory where the movie makes a ton of money, but doesn't make what they were targeting it to make. So they have to win over the people that are not you and me, and not the people watching this video who will most likely see it. They need to win over people who would normally not go into the door to this movie.
And also, too, like people
And
are
explain to them that
expecting
it's a Star Wars
Episode 8. They're like, hey, I just fell in love with Finn and Rey and Poe, and I want to see that. Oh, wait, we're going way back, you know?
Yeah, I think basically you have to tell people, the audience, hey, what this movie is. If you've been following it, you know what the story is. It's, you know, it's the fight for the Death Star plans. But for other people, like, okay, this movie takes place when? Because you can easily watch that first trailer, and if you're a layperson, like, okay, it's some Star Warsy stuff. There's some stormtroopers, but you know, really kind of get along this. Hey, this is a movie that takes place before the Star Wars movie you're used to seeing. We just skipped over the prequels, and here are the characters, and these are the stakes, and understanding what the story is really about.
Well, let's move on from Rogue One because, like I said, probably by the time we get out of here, that trailer will be out there, and this is all moot. So let's talk about Ghostbusters reboot. Now, Sony is looking at a $70 million loss. It made, let's see if I can read my own writing without my glasses. It looks like it made $181 million globally and about $119 million domestically. So it's
not a bad chunk of change, but not
the
what
break
they wanted.
even was $300 million. So that's where you're 70. So it's going to probably, once it finishes its run in territories, it's probably going to cap at $225 million. So that's where your $75 million loss comes in. Which, look, this is a pisser for the people who, even if you didn't love the movie, you could agree with all the folks who were upset by the haters just lashing out at it for simply being about 4 women and like, you know, there was a contingent of people, including us here, you know, that were kind of rooting for the movie to do well, even if it's
a good cast.
Yeah, I mean, and just all I wanted to do was be funny. I thought the movie's kind of mediocre. I wasn't nuts about it. I can understand why it didn't work. I just for me personally, it's just kind of like the people who were such like vile haters of it must feel justified from it, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's, to me, is kind of the pisser. But
its performance fed into their, you know, kind of, hey, this movie's going to suck because of this. Yeah. Oh, look, the movie sucked, and it's because of that.
Yeah.
But for the studio, there's an actual win there where they're able to merchandise off of it. They're able to do, now they're talking about doing an animated spin-off.
Yeah,
you know.
Now there's going to be an animated spin-off and then a series, but what it does do is makes it very unlikely that we'll get a sequel with Melissa McCarthy and that crew.
Which, I mean, last time they did a sequel, we got Ghostbusters 2. So.
Right. And as I pointed out to people, look, Ghostbusters 2, some people love it, but it killed that franchise for 25 years. So, you know, let's not put on our rose-colored glasses entirely with Ghostbusters 2. Some other Sony stuff I want to rattle off. There's a 4th Narnia movie, and this one is going to be through Sony, who sealed a deal with the Mark Gordon Company this week. TriStar, Sony subsidiary, is going to be financing the picture with Mark Gordon Company, and Mark Gordon Company is producing it. Sony will distribute it. This will be the 3rd studio in the 4th movie. The first 2, Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe and Caspian were put out by Disney. The 3rd one, Dawn Treader, which I kind of liked, was put out by Fox. And now they're going to do The Silver Chair. And it's going to be a complete reboot, like new cast, everything. I don't know. What's in it for Sony to do Narnia?
$1.6 billion over 3 movies.
Somebody did their homework before they showed up at Keeping It Real.
Did. But I mean, but I mean, really, I mean, that's what it is. It's a franchise that they can market globally. They'll probably have an international cast and call it a day. I mean, they'll make their money. They'll be happy.
Yeah.
And it's,
will we get a 5th one, or is it just like, hey, they can just do it as a one-off, I suppose, right?
I mean, this is probably a good
I never read
series
those
for that.
books. So.
I
know Terry, I think, and Goldman read them. I'm pretty sure Terry, I think Terry and I had a whole discussion about this one.
I remember them. I don't know if I read those.
You know what else? You know what's probably not going to happen, or I should say is unlikely? according to Jonah Hill, that Men in Black Jump Street crossover movie that James Bobbin might have directed. I kind of was excited for that. I thought it was a way to kind of keep both franchises going. However, he did point out that this week that basically they would be making the exact kind of movie that they had been
making fun
satirizing. Yeah, that it would have been this big crossover, like big franchise thing.
It always struck me as a big, crazy, funny idea that would probably be really awesome until you tried to execute it. And
yeah.
Licensing and production and co-production, and there's just too many cooks and too many hats going on there.
That's what he's saying is
happen.
part of the reason why it's probably unlikely is Sony is trying to make these deals. And so even though Sony has the rights to make and distribute Men in Black movies, there are other hands in the pot there.
Yeah,
so,
it's not like putting Sony Spider-Man in a Marvel production. This is like making Teen Titans versus X-Men.
Yeah.
Awesome idea. Not going to happen.
So let us know if you guys are disappointed about that. I think it would have worked. I think they could have made it happen, but you know what? Maybe call it a day. I'm seeing footage of War Dogs, and Jonah Hill looks like he's about 40 years old now.
I wonder, they filmed that a couple of years ago.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick, but
they filmed that a couple of years ago, though, right?
I can't remember when.
Because I mean, this movie's been sitting around. I know they've gone through a title change.
Yeah,
it seems
I'm just saying I don't know if I can keep buying him like. As a college kid, so maybe having them join Men in Black was the next logical step.
Oh, I think that's part of the joke too. He just shaved, and you're like, "Are you sure about this dude?" And like,
Okay, I'm going to rattle off some news items here. These are all kind of like director. Well, these three are director related. Brad Pitt wants David Fincher to direct the World War Z sequel. Why would Fincher want to do that? Why? What's in it for Fincher? Yeah, you could say money, but he's turned down plenty of things. Like,
I don't know.
What would a Fincher zombie
maybe
movie be
it's maybe it's like an Ocean's 11 project where it's, hey, we have a script and we all want to hang out for six months in George Clooney's villa. So maybe we just want to like Brad goes, I want to work with David again, and here's an opportunity. It could literally be just that.
My God, 140 takes of a zombie eating somebody. I'm poking fun at Fincher's notorious number of takes, which he's called people out for questioning him over. He's like, some scenes I do in 3 takes, so kiss it, Yeah. I'm paraphrasing. Friday the 13th reboot, another one, that's been gestating for a while now. Breck Eisner, director of Sahara, The Crazies, and The Last Witch Hunter.
And some TV stuff as well.
And some TV stuff, and his dad used to run Disney back in the day. He is going to direct the Friday the 13th.
I think bringing people who have at least know how to work on TV and know how to work with smaller budgets and faster turnover is always a good idea for these kind of movies. If you can do a horror movie cheap, quick, fast with a decent story and kind of a reverence for the source material, great. No need to spend tons of money on it and make it this big bloated thing. Those are the people that can probably, your Drew Goddards where you're like, hey, I have this idea. We're going to do it on a budget. We're going to knock it out. And look, people love it,
Well, here's one that sounds like kind of like, well, no duh, of course he can do it, but should he do it? The Scarface remake, they want to get Antoine Fuqua, who, look, he's had a lot of success. He's got Magnificent Seven coming up. I mean, shouldn't you just like a Scarface remake? Look, I'm fine with a Scarface remake. The Scarface '82 one, that's a remake of a '30s movie.
Yeah.
But
Paul Mooney, I think.
There's a way to. I just feel like for Fuqua, like, dude, you're too big for that. Throw that to like, what's in it for you?
Part of it feels like a step back for him because it's a remake and
it's like a paycheck movie or something.
But it's still a well-loved. Look, I'll be honest. I do not like. I am no fan of that movie.
Really?
I
love that movie.
I can't get past Pacino's terrible accent. As somebody who knows actual Cubans, that accent is so over the top. At least with Carlito's Way, he's able to do the accent, kind of New Yorican accent, and kind of passably do it.
Yeah.
But it's
and they try to get around the criticisms of casting him too as a Cuban in that one by saying, I think there's one throwaway line about like, oh yeah, you could pass as an Italian, or maybe that he has some Italian blood in him, just to kind of circumvent that issue that, Scarface got over the years.
Which I think is actually pops up with the books, because the Carlitos Way come from a book series from a judge. But I always got away from the hamminess, and also the third act is so over the top. But I know people really, really love that movie. Like there was Scarface in the '80s, and I think the movie of its ilk for this period is really The Wolf of Wall Street, where people really, latch onto this character who has these humble beginnings, and by any means possible is able to kind of ascend to the top of his game and get everything he wants. Of course, only to see it crumble in a pile of cocaine. But to me, it was always hammy. Parts of the movie are very hammy, although Stephen Bauer, the cast was really good. I don't know that we need another a remake of it. But I mean, if anybody's going to do it justice, it'll probably be Fuqua.
Yeah, I just feel like that thing is probably going to make money no matter what. So is he just looking at this, okay, this is a safe movie and all that? But I just feel like for him, it's a step backwards. He's got heat right now, and it's like, I don't know.
But I mean, if he tackles it, and I think he says he wants to do it as a traditional immigrant tale. I think if he finds the right angle and everything, fine. But this isn't necessarily.
It'd be kind of cool. He's worked with Denzel so often. What if they cast Denzel in like the Robert Loggia role? So it's almost kind of like Denzel, sort of as his like American Gangster character, but like. Because think about it, if you can take out Denzel, then this guy's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Antoine, if you're going to do this movie, just think about it. That's all.
Good luck, sir.
So Transformers: The Last Night. I'm just going to rattle off the lineup of Autobots. We did a set visit for it last week. We're going to have a report on it from.
Where are they shooting again?
Lansing, Michigan. Scenic Lansing, Michigan. Look, Michigan. I'm not making fun of you. Just saying. We filmed in Hong Kong in the last one. You're in Michigan.
They have cars there. There's a lot of metal.
There is. And here's some of the metal that'll be in Transformers: The Last Night. We know Bumblebee will be back, Optimus obviously, but the Autobots will include Hot Rod, Squeaks, who's like this kind of new, I think it's their attempt to do BB-8, Drift, Crosshairs, and then the Megatron is also back, as we knew, and then there's going to be a Combaticon leader, Onslaught, who turns into Bruticus.
I got Bruticus in my office right now.
Yeah, I see. I was always more of a G.I. Joe guy than a Transformers guy.
Ditto. Yeah. Stalker.
Stalker was rad. I wanted them to do a G.I. Joe movie back in the day, just so that Wesley Snipes could have been Stalker.
Oh, that would
he would have been perfect.
Yeah, that actually would have been.
They should. And then I always wanted to. I think it was Kurt Russell as
for Flag?
for Duke. Like if they had done this in the '90s, you know. And then or you could have.
Well,
Patrick Swayze would have been good too. If we're doing an '80s '90s G.I. Joe movie, like Patrick Swayze.
And you could have literally got
all those dudes back then. Too.
Well, you also could have got any wrestler to play Gung Ho.
Right.
Just anybody. Jesse Ventura, Jake the Snake, anybody.
And think about it, they flipping Sergeant Slaughter joined G.I. Joe. You could have just done it for real. And then I want Stallone as Clutch.
Sure, I'll take it.
All right, so opening this weekend, we have Sausage Party and Pete's Dragon, both of which got very high reviews from us here at IGN. I really enjoyed Sausage Party. Terry loved Pete's Dragon. But Suicide Squad is still expected to be #1 this weekend, probably dropping around 60-ish%, which is pretty normal.
That's about average. I mean, I think over the long term, first of all, the fact that it's opening weekend is only 30 million short of Batman vs. Superman is actually kind of amazing.
Right.
Considering that Batman vs. Superman is a tentpole movie with 3 big heroes in it.
Yeah.
And this is a movie of all villains, and it just barely performs under Batman.
We kind of neglected to point out too that it's the biggest opening of Will Smith's career.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, you were like, oh, really? It's I thought Men in Black and stuff like no.
But as I mentioned to somebody recently, I said, Will Smith isn't always
his 5th worst reviewed movies.
Wow. Will Smith isn't always blockbuster money, but he's consistent.
Oh yeah.
Where kind of like a Matt Damon, where
Yeah.
you hire him, he makes your money,
getting.
you make your money back, you're good.
Yeah.
He's not somebody who's going to lose you any money at the box office.
You know exactly what flavor product you're getting when either him or Matt Damon show up. So Sausage Party is probably going to be in third place with between like 15 and 20 million. Now they only made the movie for 19 million. I'm curious, like I really love the movie. It makes fun of, nothing is sacred. They make fun of everything. But it is an R-rated, it is not for kids. It's an R-rated movie. There's an orgy scene in a supermarket.
That sounds like a Seth Rogen movie.
Yeah, I don't, like, I'm curious what sort of
what's going to happen inside the
longevity. Yeah, will this movie have? Like, is it going to be? Is it just
a cult movie?
Yeah, basically.
Honestly, it probably is.
Yeah.
It'll make it. Probably chunk of change. It's one of those movies where there'll probably be some stories next week about parents walking into the wrong movie.
Do your homework, parents.
Come on. I mean, that's why Fox had to send that Deadpool letter out to everybody, like, "Hey kids, this movie's not for you."
Yeah.
That didn't sway anybody.
Didn't the Sausage Party trailer play in front of like Finding Dory?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Pete's Dragon though is probably going to open up in like the $25 million range, so probably like second or third place. It is getting really great reviews. Everyone, I have not had a chance to see it yet. Every press screening has been conflicting with something else, so I'll probably go and see it this weekend though. It was made for about $65 million, so hopefully, given the kind of goodwill towards this remake, I don't know if I've ever actually seen the original Pete's Dragon. I think I may have seen it on TV. It would have come out when we were kids, but
it was live action with animation
with
over
like those weird like animated
Studios.
like
in the Burbank studio.
Yeah.
They used to do screenings there all the time. It's fine. I mean, this movie, the thing that always aids movies aimed at children is, especially if there's two R or hard R or PG-13 movies going on, is that everybody who can't take their family or whatever to see those movies get to go to these, and they'll benefit from having probably multiple weekends.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. We'll have a breakdown of that Rogue One trailer for you up on the site, probably by the time you see this. But send us your thoughts at keepinitreal@ign.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jim Vejvoda. What's your Twitter? Just
Ahmad Childress.
There we go. That's pretty simple. We like to keep it simple here.
Very.
So
make it plain.
Check us out on all our different platforms. And for all things movies, superhero and otherwise, keep it here on IGN. Thanks for watching.